has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
And we are back, Ferrall, coast to coast, here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Hour number 3, our final hour. We have a lot to do. NBA tonight. We have Keith Stewart from Read the Line to finish off Golf Wednesdays. I have some more NFL for Joe aside from the big Diggs trade today. So a lot to get into, that's for sure. Joe's, of course, with me every Tuesday and Wednesday on Coast to Coast, the extended version of the very popular SportsGrid radio show Carver and Lisi, which airs weeknights at 8 p.m. East. And you'll hear me and Joe there tonight, Joe, at 8 p.m. East. And Joe's looking forward to it already because I've promised him an extended discussion about the Stephon Diggs trade tonight. He's very excited. Very excited.
I am excited. Very. We're gonna get it on. It's good. We might need the late Mills Lane to get between us. I'm telling you, Richard Steele, because I'm coming after you.
You're coming after me. Oh, that's all right, Joe. I can handle that. You know that. That's for sure. Final Four, of course, we still have a couple days to go, Joe. Saturday is when we will finally reconvene in Glendale for the men. I wanted to give you some updates here. There it is for you with our Bracket Central. Which Joe will be a part of. Don't forget that. Joe will be part of the Bracket Central, the second game on Saturday night here on SportsGrid, along with KW. I'm guessing, Joe, I'm probably going to guess right that Ben and Coach are probably the crew for the first game, and then you and KW for the second game. I know I'm right about that, Joe, so you don't even have to correct me.
And the second game is UConn and Bama.
Correct. First game, NC State and Purdue. Not much has changed here, Joe. When I get to the second game, we do have a little bit of a change. Still minus 9.5 for the Boilermakers. 145.5 is still the total here. Status quo, Joe, as we hit midweek.
Yeah, I'm not changing, Carver. I mean, I don't love it, but I'm going to roll with NC State in the points. I don't think they win, but catch them basically 10, 9.5 on a neutral court. And we know how suspect Painter has been in recent years, even though Zach Edey stepped up. I mean, it was like, two negatives equal a positive last week with Rick Barnes and Painter squaring off against each other. Both teams that underachieved in recent years, one of them had to win. So now in this spot, I'm going NC State to cover the number.
No doubt. We welcome in all of our radio affiliates for Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty, SportsGrid Radio, Sirius XM, channel 159. And Sports Byline. Great to have everybody with us here today. The second game, Joe, like you said, the one that me and you are obviously very involved in, is this Alabama-UConn game. And we had some change from yesterday. I did see, Joe, BetMGM go from 11.5 to 12.5, and that's with 64% of the bets on UConn. So some 12.5, and then it's gone back down, Joe. And it went to 12.5, now back to 11.5, where it has been for the early part of the week. But the total goes from 161 down to 160.5. And that is with, Joe, let me give you the numbers here, 54% of the money on the under for that 160.5.
Yeah, again, I think the over comes in. I think it's pace of play. I think it's tempo and the ability for Alabama to push and maybe potentially start a little bit fast. And again, whoever wins this game, I think gets in to the high 80s or 90s. I really believe that. So that could be UConn as well. But I'm going to take the 11.5 points, and you know how I feel. I think they're live in regards to the plus 525 money line price, have a better price at 35 to 1. Basically, I'm sitting on a 32.5 to 1 ticket with Alabama. I have a 30 to 1 and a 35 to 1. You meet in the middle, you got about 32.5. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think Sears could be a factor. And again, no team in the tournament's been able to get up on UConn and dictate that pace of play. And I think Alabama potentially has the guard play and the offense to do it.
So since this is the last time you'll be with us on Coast to Coast between now and then, you're on Alabama versus Purdue Monday night. Am I getting that clearly through all the talking points? That's who you have Monday night?
That's right. I said it, Hero.
With clearly Alabama winning. Clearly you have Alabama winning.
I'm going to take a shot. Listen, you got to go big or go home. It's not, this is it. Nobody, UConn is the best. Yeah, they are. But that doesn't mean on any given weekend they can't lose. They did have regular season losses on the year. So why not Alabama when the chips are in the middle of the table? We talk about Nate Oates being a good coach, and Sears has stepped up. We talk about guard play dominating potentially the Final Four. He's a guard that could take over.
I got no problem, Joe, with letting the future do the talking. I don't have any problem with that. You're letting the future do the talking. That's okay. You got a couple big tickets there with the Crimson Tide. You're looking to get them home. Nothing wrong there. We mentioned this before with Coach Seton Hall and Indiana State. Made the NIT final. That will be tomorrow night. Indiana State favored over Seton Hall. -2.5. Good, Joe says. Good. He throws it wide. What is good about that?
Well, all the usual suspects. You're talking about how I upset everybody, picking Georgia with the Seton Hall contingency. Mafia, coach. So you know what? I might as well gun after them. Give me Indiana State with the kid Avia.
Wow. The Sycamores. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for Joe tomorrow night.
Smash him. I can't even bet it. Smash him.
That's a 159.5 total too, which
sit on the sidelines.
Indiana State blew through that one last night against Utah. That's for sure. All right, there you go, college rack. I have a lot of NBA, Joe. We'll do most of it after I talk to Keith. Let me at least squeeze in Embiid from last night. Sixers beat the Thunder 109-105. Embiid back after, of course, a very extended absence. And he didn't look that bad, Joe. 24 points in 29 minutes. Had a couple of very big buckets for the Sixers down the stretch in this game. Let's see with the Embiid. In fact, we'll get, looks like we'll get Embiid, Joe, later on. We'll throw him in. I have some Embiid sound as well. And the Lakers an easy cover, Joe, too. 128-111. They took care of business against the Raptors. And they're going to play again tonight. Another big number in D.C. against the Wizards, who are coming off an outright win against the Bucks last night. Gutless performance by the Bucks in D.C., Joe.
No, we know that. Isn't Doc the answer? Aren't all the Bucks fans happy they got Doc? I mean, especially Dame Time and Giannis. I mean, look at how good. Just let the players run it. They know. Giannis was writing up plays with the other coach. It's obviously now Doc is coaching them up.
Who's the one person who knows this number? What were the Bucks before? 31-13. What are they after? 16-15. All right, so
Perfect.
Doc's done an awful job. Awful job with Milwaukee.
I will say this, Marva. Embiid got over that number last night, 22.5 in-game. Remember he had 8 points?
That was the in-game when we didn't look at it. Now, like I said, I don't know if they put numbers up. It was obviously very late in the game, Joe, when they announced that he was even playing in that game. When me and you looked in the first quarter, they had a 22.5 up there. That was live.
He got over it.
And he did get over that. That was when we started the radio show. So he did crawl over that number.
Tonight. Under in the Lakers.
Oh, under tonight. Okay, we'll do that in a little while. Ferrall Coast to Coast here. We'll come back. Keith Stewart, read the line. Golf Wednesdays on C2C continues after this.
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins in 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact. Oh, he got it!
Bama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama is the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action, how you defend that is going to be a problem because Donovan Clingan forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall coast to coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. Of course, it is Golf Wednesdays on C2C, and we always love having Keith Stewart from Read the Line with us every single week as we get you ready for this week's PGA Tour event. As you know, Valero Texas Open, TPC San Antonio, our final event before the Masters next week as we head up Magnolia Lane. Keith, good to see you as always. Before I get there, though, I like that when this stuff happens on Wednesdays because I know I'm going to have you. When we get a key piece of news in the golf world, and this is big news, a week before a major, having one of the top players in the game part ways with one of the more recognizable caddies in the game, of course, of Jim Bones McKay. Justin Thomas and him separate. The timing, Keith, for me, is what we got to think about. I know Bones was doing some TV a few weeks ago on NBC. There's a lot of stuff maybe to factor in there as well. What do you make of all this?
I'm with you, Carver, and good afternoon on Golf Wednesday. I don't like the timing of this at all. So to me, it screams like there's something going on behind the curtain. And, you know, I'm out on tour all the time, and I get to see a lot of these relationships. And it's interesting to me that Bones is a Hall of Fame caddy. You know, call that what you want, but I mean, he's an extremely good presence for JT. Yet in 3 years, they've won one time, and it was the PGA Championship. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think that there's another Thomas that runs that camp, and maybe Bones started to express himself as more of a leadership role heading into this year and trying to help JT revamp his game or renovate his game for 2024, and maybe that just didn't fit.
Maybe not. And let's also add this. A lot needed to go right for him to win that PGA Championship. And we mean a lot needed to go right that day with Mito Pereira and everything else that went on there. One more small thing, and then I want to get to – yes, go ahead.
Yeah, just I find it interesting, and I'm sure this won't happen, but Phil, he walked away from his brother as caddy, as Tim last. So you've got Phil and maybe Phil and Bones at Augusta one more time. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they get along, but
wow.
It's worth mentioning. They're both free. They're both free agents.
Speaking of Phil, and really not so much Phil, but Liv, and obviously they get back together next week. It's only a couple times a year now where we get the Liv guys, and this is more next week. We'll get into it. But Bryson today, and I like Bryson. I don't like that these guys are separate, Keith. I liked it when all the guys were together. Bryson was a different sort of player, just like Patrick Reed's a different sort of player, etc. But for him to sit up there today and start the whole, we really need to be back together, we really need to do this. I mean, dude, you're one of the guys who took the $100+ million to leave. Like, let's settle down here a little bit. Calm down, Bryson.
Everything changes every 5 minutes. So he's obviously changed his opinion. He doesn't remember what he did a year ago or a year and a half ago. It all goes along with JT and Bones breaking up 1 week before the Masters. There's all of this anxiety that's going on in men's professional golf, and some people can handle it and some people can't. And Bryson, he only changes he only opens his mouth to change feet. So at the end of the day, what Bryson says doesn't surprise me.
Let's get to the Valero Texas Open here, Keith. Of course, we have some pretty good names at the top of this board, including Rory McIlroy, who wanted to play the week before the Masters this year, wanted to change his ramp up and his schedule. He is 9-1. You can find some 850s, 10s, etc. Around, depending on where you shop. Do you think, Keith, this will help him? I found this interesting too. Won it Canadian before the U.S. Open a couple years ago. Won the Scottish before the Open Championship a few years ago. I believe Wells Fargo was before the PGA a couple years before that. He's kind of won before these majors. Doesn't win the major, but he's won these weeks when he plays before majors.
So he's going for the career pre-Grand Slam week. I don't know. At the end of the day, Rory came out the story. He went and saw Butch Harmon for a lesson. He was very vocal about how he was changing his schedule this year leading up to the Masters and how it didn't work last year. And he was doing something new this year. Well, whatever he's doing this year, it's certainly not working. He's had, 5 starts and he's had no top 10s? They've been in the top 20s, but this is Rory. This guy, he's the second favorite in order to win the Masters. And he hasn't had a major in 10 years. So I'm not very interested in Rory this week, and I'm not very high on him either at the Valero Texas Open because the one thing that he's really struggled with has been his iron game and his short iron game, and that's something that you really need to do here, and which will lead me into my outrights, is that one of the biggest factors that I weighted this week was not just approach play, which is super important at TPC San Antonio, specifically the Oaks course, but short range approach play from 100 yards and in. We've got 5 par 4s under 410, and then you've got 4 more par 5s that are 3-shot holes. That gives you 50% of the holes where you're coming in from under 100 yards. You better be really, really good with a wedge to win this week.
You really do. Let's get into it here, Keith. Your outrights for this week. There are some names that I am with you on here, especially at the top. Ludwig Gobert, I've got him. I'm using him in all my one and dones this week. Going to have a couple tickets on him. Who do you like on the big board?
Well, I'm with you there on Aubert, and real quickly, why? He won the RSM Classic at Sea Island with great driving, great wedge play, and timely putting. It's exactly what he needs this week. Then we go to Hideki. Nobody's hitting the ball better than Hideki on the tour, except maybe Scotty, but even Hideki's at another level with his ball strike from where he's been in his career. Absolutely fantastic. Fitzpatrick, he fixed the driver before the Players. Now all of a sudden he comes in 5th place. I like that number in the high 20s. I wish it was up over 30, but, you don't get all your gifts even at Christmas. Now, Seabez, as we start to get into the middle, Seabez, Christian Bezuidenhout has been fantastic, and he's really good from short range with a wedge. 6th on approach, 6th with the putter, 2 gloves, Aaron Rye. Everybody talks about this ball striking, and then everybody says, Keith, the guy can't putt. Guess what? In 2 starts there at the Valero, he's gaining on average over 3 strokes with the putter. He knows something about those greens, or they're just not that hard. And then the last one is my bomb, Joel Damon, plus 250. This guy, plus 25,000, 250 to 1. Joel, he's second in the field, tee to green behind Hideki, right? He's ahead of Rory. He's ahead of a lot of these other names, Aubert, everybody. Joel's been unbelievable on approach, and the putter's been lacking. But in 4 trips to the Valero, the last 3 starts, Joel's gained with the putter. So watch out for him.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Joel get going. We've seen it slowly start to happen. Everybody roots for him now since Full Swing. We want to see Joel Damon play some great golf and get to the top of some of these leaderboards. Finishing positions for you here, Keith. What do we have?
Well, you know what? I got to go with the sheriff of TPC San Antonio, the strokes gained king there. All right? Corey Connors, he's got 2 wins in 4 years. And you know what? He's had a couple top 20s lately in elite fields at tough golf courses. He comes to San Antonio in great form. I expect him to do good things again. In that top 20 range, I love to cover my outright, so you see the names there. Now in the 40s, there's some fun ones here. K.H. Lee, he's won twice in Texas, and he's been playing well lately, driving the ball better, and he's good from close range. Davis Thompson, another guy, drives the ball really good, young stud, fits the mold for the type of player that can do well here. And then, of course, he's really good from close range with a wedge. And then 2 more names for you, a couple of bombs. Now, I've been all over Max Grazeman lately. He's been really good. Last week, he top 10s right there at Houston. We're going again on him. And everybody loves Andrew Novak. I bet he's on your card, too.
He is. He's been hitting those top 40s, that's for sure. Quickly, the head-to-heads.
All right, Hideki over Spieth. What's going on with Spieth? The guy's had 2 wins in 7 years, Carver, right? It's time to – maybe he needs a caddy switch. And then the other one, I've got Connors over Morikawa. Morikawa was known for his iron game, and all of a sudden he's not gained positively strokes with his approach game 3 times in the last 4 starts. He's got to be thinking about Magnolia Lane and getting ready, and he's practicing this week, and I think Connors takes him.
We can't lose those Spieth-Greller conversations out there on the course, Keith. We cannot lose those at all. Keith Stewart, read the line. Let's cash him this week in San Antonio. We're back into the...
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and then gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins in 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact. Oh, he got it!
Hammer runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we produced tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama is the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action and how you defend that is going to be a problem because the Donovan Clingan forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka
is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
And we are back for El Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on Sports Grid and Sports Grid Radio. Great to have everybody with us here today. Quickly, Joe, keep you up to date on a few things. The Yankees and the Diamondbacks are now tied at 2 as they go to the bottom of the 7th in Arizona. Of course, the Yankees win ahead on the 2-run homer by Judge. Ketel Marte had a solo homer for Arizona. That ties the game up at 2 there. They are still waiting in Baltimore. I mean, the game was supposed to start 5 hours ago. I guess that's going to be a night game now between the Royals and the Orioles. Red Sox still lead the A's 1-0 in the top of the 8th. Didn't you like the over in that game, Joe, or were you on the Red Sox?
Over in the Red Sox, under in the Yankees.
Okay, there you go. 8-0 Cleveland leads Seattle right now, bottom of the 4th inning.
Smash.
There. And the Padres are up 3-1 on the Cardinals, bottom of the 4th inning. Man, on Angels beat the Marlins 10-2, Twins beat the Brewers 7-3, and the Rangers beat the Rays 4-1. Braves and White Sox washed away. Tigers and Mets washed away. 4 games tonight. We talked about them earlier, and they're all still good for now, including the Giants and the Dodgers, which will happen late night. Okay, Joe, I want to finish a couple things. I think let's do the Embiid post game if we can. Of course, we said Embiid returned last night with the 24 points in the 29 minutes. He wanted to get back, Joe, for the Philly fans, of course. He loves the city of Philadelphia, wanted to get back for all of them.
It means a lot, obviously, going back to the fans. I mean, there's one reason why, I always play, even when I'm not at my best, is because, been in this city for a long time, and, the love and the passion. I've always been passionate.
Joel Embiid.
But, when you have fans like that behind you that are also passionate, it just makes you, want to play through anything because that's Philly. You got to be tough, and I think I'm pretty tough, but, that also translates to, what they mean and the support and what they mean to us, is, unimaginable. So, they mean a lot, and, we're going to need the support because we got a long road ahead of us.
Well, Joe, you're one of the people who are buying in. You say the Sixers with Embiid, they could beat the Celtics. They could do big things.
Why not?
I need to see it to believe it, but you're a believer. You're a believer.
I am a believer. Let's not forget, I believed in the Heat last year. How'd that turn out? Oh, yeah. 12-1 with Joel Embiid. 12-1.
You said it.
They saved the best for last. I said it, not you, me. 76ers live, 12-1. What are you going to take? You're going to take Jason Tatum chalk at -120? You're going to take the gutless Knicks? Come on.
How about the Heat again? How about we take them?
Well, they have value, too, at 18-1. I can't go against Jimmy B. He's my guy. Put money in my pocket.
How'd they do cleaning up the Knicks last night, Joe? They cleaned up the Knicks for you, 109-99. Smash job with the
I
Heat
told you,
night.
no shot. It got to 2 while we were on air. You actually thought you were going to get a cover. I said it. Knicks have no shot against the Heat in Miami. No shot. Not blue collar enough. They don't have the fire in the belly. You need the fire in the belly.
Don't have it. That's for sure. The Nuggets beat the Spurs 110-105. Michael Porter Jr. hit a big 3 at the end. Joker had 42. Joe Wembenyama, 23 points, 15 boards, 8 assists, and 9 blocks. He was a couple of stats away from the elusive quadruple double last night, Joe. Your boy. Well, so I know you like doing that, the whole "so good, he's so good" thing, Joe. Let's say this: he's gotten better as he's gotten more adjusted, as Pops actually let him play more than 30 minutes a night. You're seeing big numbers, and all the things that everybody said about this guy, Joe. Because you got to remember, before he actually plays in the NBA, and all you hear is all this talk, you don't really know what to believe until you finally see it. As advertised, Joe, as far as I'm concerned, some of the stuff that the guy does out there, as advertised.
I mean, just he can shoot it deep. He's got a game beyond the arc, and his wingspan, Carver.
You really are. All right,
to
Joe.
me, it's the wingspan. Right. No, he's like a pterodactyl out there. He glides. He doesn't
You're too
run.
much, Joe.
No,
You're too much.
I'm serious.
You really are. The Kings, good call by you with the Kings. Kings beat the Clippers 109-95. And the Warriors beat the Mavs.
When it comes to the NBA, I don't know. It's possible.
Not with this one. Warriors beat the Mavs 104-100. Luka only 28 points. Couldn't get it done. Draymond had a huge block. Oh, he had 30, excuse me. Green had a huge block at the end of that game, Joe, which was big. Green actually staying out there and playing. See how much it helps when the guy actually finishes the game? He's helpful out there, Joe. Let's get to tonight in the NBA. Where do you want to start, Joe? Why don't we start with the games that really don't matter? Portland's in Charlotte against the Hornets tonight. Both teams playing out the string. Hornets -1.5, 212.5 the total in this one.
I'll lean to, I don't know who's more gutless. Which team is more gutless? I'd say that's the Hornets. They got smashed every time I bet them. So give me Portland tonight. I think it's an under, too.
It's probably an under. I mean, everybody out for both of these teams. I mean, even Miles Bridges is out now for Charlotte. I mean, who's playing? This is like a G League game tonight, Joe, that they're going to have in Charlotte. It's an absolute stay away from me. No thank you whatsoever. The Lakers are in D.C. against the Wizards. So the Wizards won last night. They beat the Bucks straight up. Lakers destroyed Toronto in the second half. So now they finish off this road trip in D.C. They're laying 12.5, 236.5 the total. Darvin Ham said last night, Joe, LeBron and AD should be out there again tonight. Every game matters for the Lakers here trying to move up the standings.
Lakers, I can only look in regards to that. But again, I'm going under 234.5. The old men in terms of the back-to-back, not going to happen. You know that. What do we got, 2.5 quarters?
Lakers, lay it. Lay to 12.5 with the Lakers and over, Joe. This is a absolute smash job. 140-105 smash 140. Job. Right?
So
yeah. 140-105.
50 tonight? He's going to get half 140. Hondo.
Reeves, Hachimura. You're going to get everybody cooking tonight, Joe, for the Lakers.
D-Russ?
Had 7 threes last night.
No, I can't back him.
Had 7 threes last night.
Yeah, I can't back him tonight. Tonight's an AD game. Just run him up and down the floor. Let the big man eat.
Pistons are in Atlanta against the Hawks. Hawks -12.5, 224.5 is the total. Do you feel, Joe, that the Hawks have – I know this is strange to say. Do you feel they've played better since Trae Young got hurt? Because I do.
Yeah.
I feel like they've played better without Young.
They're favored in almost every game down the stretch now. I mean, ever since they beat the Celtics. Catching 10.5. I mean, come on. They shouldn't be 12.5 points over anybody, Carver. Should they?
Probably not. They should not be 12.5 point favorites against anybody. One of the games of the night has lost a little bit of luster. OKC is in Boston against the Celtics. So back-to-back for Oklahoma City. Losing Philly last night. They didn't have SGA. Well, guess what, Joe? They're not going to have SGA tonight either. When me and you looked at this last night, it was 1.5 thinking SGA. Or no, it wasn't 1.5, Joe. 3 or 4? Somewhere in that area?
4.5.
3 or 4.5. 4.5. Now it's 11.5 with no SGA. 228.5 the total.
Yeah, but the Thunder are battle tested. Give me the 11.5. I think they're live too. No SGA, no problem. I said it live.
Wow. Thunder. No SGA in Boston. Listen to Joe stepping up. The Pacers are in Brooklyn. They destroyed them the other night at home. -7.5 for the Pacers here. 230.5. I think the Pacers rack them again, Joe. Rack them.
Should we take Halliburton? Is he playing? He's another one that costs me money down the stretch.
Halliburton's playing, yes. Halliburton's in tonight.
I'm gonna take the Pacers and Halliburton's total. I think 25
right.
plus.
The Bucks, who lost last night to the Wizards, as we keep laughing about. Tonight they're at home, Joe, against another awful team, the Grizzlies. They lost to them on the road a few months ago. Minus 12.5 for the Bucks. No Dame time again. He's out just like last night. 217.5 the total.
By default, give me the Grizzlies. I can't take the Bucks. If they couldn't cover the other night, they're not going to cover this line. They might win, but they're not going to cover 13.5. Are you kidding? They're gutless. Doc Rivers is gutless. They're going nowhere. They're going down like a dart in the playoffs. How about that?
I agree. Toronto's in Minnesota against the Timberwolves. 16.5 for Minnie, who's still very much in the mix for the one in the West. 214.5 is the total.
I'm going to take a shot. The Raptors with the points. Couldn't cover against LeBron and the Lakers. Now this line readjusted by 1.5 too. Give me the Raptors to cover.
All right, probably the two best games of the night here, Joe. You know what? I'll save them and do them when we come back, which is Orlando and New Orleans and the Cavs in Phoenix late night. So you have four teams there that actually have got something on the table in terms of seeding and whatnot. So I'll give you those numbers when we come back. I also, Joe, have some other football stuff for you, including a Jim Harbaugh clip. And I love already. Wait till you see this one, Joe. I love that Jim is back in the NFL. I think it's outstanding because he is just a barrel of laughs at the start of the Charger offseason program. So we'll hear from Jim. I've got some updated J.J. McCarthy info for you as well. Ferrall, Coast to Coast on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty. SportsGrid Radio. We keep it going right after this on the Grid.
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
Creates a double team and then gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins in 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact.
Bama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama is the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action, how you defend that is going to be a problem because Donovan Clingan forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes, it's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
And we are back, Ferrall, coast to coast, here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on Sports Grid and Sports Grid Radio. Great to have everybody with us. BetMGM, always taking care of you, that's for sure. I bet a first bet offer of $1,500. What do you got to do? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. That's it. BetMGM, first bet offer up to $1,500 coming back your way. All right, Joe, I have two other NBA games for you. As I mentioned, they're really the two best games of the night, the two games that actually have both teams playing for something. First, the Magic, who are now the 4th seed in the East, visiting New Orleans, who are still sitting in the 6th spot in the West. Pelicans minus 4.5, 208.5 is the total. You love these low totals in these Magic games, Joe.
Yeah, but I like the Pelicans. Give me the Pelicans. They're at home tonight. I'll take a shot. I think the over comes in, too, over the 209.5. So I like that team. I like the Pelicans, especially when they're at home, Carver.
I like the Pelicans as well tonight, Joe. And in our final game of the night, I'm sorry. Does that bother you? Same side as you?
Yeah, whenever we load up.
I got to play it, Joe. I'm out then. I'm out. You go ahead. You play
don't be like that.
No, I'm out. I'm out. I'm out on the Pelicans now. I don't want to rain on your parade, Joe. All of a sudden, you're the wheel. You're the wheel now, Joe. Who's the wheel now? Oh, Joe.
Joey's the wheel. Joey's the best wheel. Joey's the best wheel.
The Cavs, after playing last night in Utah, the win over the Jazz, they're in Phoenix against the Suns. They do get Donovan Mitchell back in the lineup tonight, Joe. Minus 5.5 for Phoenix. 226.5 is the total.
I'm going to take a shot. Give me the Cavs, and I'm going to take the over, too. Could we get Donovan for 35 going up against Booker?
He hasn't been playing, Joe. Why do you want to just jump right in? And you know what? Go take him for 35. He hasn't been playing. He missed a ton of games.
He's a chuck artist. He comes in, he's like, come on. The ball
Plus
doesn't
700
go around.
for 35. Plus 700
that's a
for
great
35.
number. How many threes? 4? What's his number for 4 threes?
Over 3.5 at plus 120.
How about
you want to
5?
alt him?
We'll 5 threes and 35 points.
Just play the 35 for 7-1. Come on. Come on, you're the wheel. You're talking big about it. Just play the plus 700 for 35 points. Go ahead.
There you go.
I got an idea. Why don't you put it with the golf? Put it with Bo Hostler. Why don't you back it up with a top 20 for Bo instead of an outright? Put him in the top 20.
My guy, I told you, the guy I'm backing in the golf is Webb Simpson.
Stick with Bo Hostler. You got a better shot than going with Webb Simpson.
He's got no shot, Webb Simpson.
I'll say it to you again. No shot for Webb this week down at San Antonio. No shot.
I already bet him for first-round leader. Keep saying it. Talking to fruition.
No shot. First-round leader. You might even make the cut, Joe, your boy Webb. You have a problem with that. There you go. NBA for tonight. Joe, very involved. Will be very involved tonight on Carver and Lisi as well. NFL, obviously we've gone extensively through the big news of the day, Joe, which was Stephon Diggs getting traded to the Texans. I did just see some clips very quickly in the break. Brandon Beane already talking to the media. I always love this line, Joe. I'm going to leave no stone unturned to replace Diggs and fill up the wide receiver room for the Bills. No stone unturned, Joe. Brandon Beane's going to leave. That should be fun. I can't wait.
Well, that's good. Maybe they had some veteran talent, and then they get some,
maybe trade
wide
for
receivers.
Ayuk. Maybe they trade for Ayuk.
Is that bad?
How about that?
Who would you rather have, Ayuk or Diggs?
Well, I'm not sure. Ayuk's a lot younger than Diggs, so you're probably looking at it that way, Joe. You always seem to tend to trend towards the younger player. Ayuk has not gone anywhere near yet doing the things that Diggs has done in the NFL, but like I said, he's younger. He's still got a chance to maybe do those things.
Kid's hungry.
He's hungry, that's for sure.
Kid wants to win. Don't forget who got you there.
Don't forget who got you there. All these teams, Joe, are getting together for their off-season program. Of course, you start all of the mini camps after the draft, the rookie camps. You have all these things that will go on. So Jim Harbaugh started his first one this week with the Chargers out in Los Angeles, of course, out of the college game and back into the NFL. Here's Jim talking about the first day of having the players back in the building.
Just feels good. It's like the start of the new year. Happy New Year. That's where it feels. It's like that first day of school, family reunion, homecoming. I know those that most people think January 1st, the start of the new year. Those that espouse to Christianity, Catholicism, correlated with the birth of Christ. But us in football, today, April 2nd, start of the new year. So
that's it.
Just great. Great day. It was just a great day for football, for meetings and training, doing a lot of baseline training.
He's great. I love that he's back in the NFL, Joe. It's just so many more chances to get him in front of a microphone because he's he's gotten a little kooky over the years. He's gotten a little weird and zany, Jim, especially when he talks to the media. And at Michigan and being in college, they only really talk to the media once a week, right? I mean, that's it. You get the one press conference on a Monday. You preview the week. In the NFL, you got a lot of chances at the mic. You got Monday after the game. You got Wednesday to talk about the new opponent. You got after the game. It's just you've got more opportunities for zany Jim to show up, and I think we're going to get a lot of that in Los Angeles this year.
No, wait until the draft in about 3 weeks, and you think we're going to hear the J.J. McCarthy type of praises that we've heard over the past couple of weeks. Oh, he's the best. It's great. Oh, he's the best quarterback ever. He's a
best quarterback ever. He's
speaking of all that, he's so smart. He's stupid.
What are you gonna get? It's Jim. What's the matter? Michigan wins a national championship, and we don't like Jim anymore. Wow.
What do you mean? He put money in my pocket. He put money in my pocket against Alabama.
You didn't have a problem with him giving the ball to Donovan Edwards there in that game. That's for sure. You had no problems with that.
Donovan
Edwards. All right, I wanted to give this to you yesterday, Joe, and I never got to, and I want to get it in today. Updated odds for these second and third picks in the draft. Now, this was yesterday, I believe, Joe, or maybe we did bump this up here. I believe we have them both. That is correct. Even money now for the second pick for both May and Jaden Daniels. They are both even money, Joe, to go in that pick. So back and forth we go with these two. Actually, that board, that is yesterday, Joe, minus 150. This morning, it went to even money. They're both the same number.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think it's even close. Jaden Daniels is head and shoulders better than Drake May. I don't even think Drake May should be in the first round. How about that? I mean, when you complete 44% of your passes against Clemson, struggled against the better teams in back-to-back years, doesn't have a marquee win throughout his college career for the most part, especially after the last couple of seasons. Why do you want Drake May? You want to tell me that one? Oh, he's got great upside. The tape doesn't lie. Did you see what he did against Minnesota? Minnesota.
And the other intriguing thing is, Joe, McCarthy's up to 5-1 for that second pick. And for the third overall pick, May and Daniels also have the same price again. That's today at plus 125, with McCarthy at plus 400 at 4-1. So you've had this little bit of movement, and there you see yesterday, May was 110 and Daniels was 160. Now they're both plus 125. So the second and third pick, Joe, Daniels and May, same odds for both, with McCarthy moving up a hair, down a little for 3.
Yeah, I'll smash it with a sledgehammer. I think it's all window dressing. I'm not going to buy into it. Again, I think Drake May is severely overrated. Not only that, tell me the franchise quarterback that's come out of North Carolina over the past 10 years. Trubisky, Sam Howell, are they still going to be in the NFL next year? I know he backs up your Josh Allen this year, but I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, they're average, good quarterbacks. They're not elite. And they certainly shouldn't be taken second overall. And Drake May is right in the line of that. All right? Let's just stop the hype. Drake May is a project at best.
I'm not going to disagree with you about the prospects potentially for Drake May. I couldn't tell you, just like with most of these guys, and most can't, even though they want to try to make it out, whether they're going to be good in the NFL or not. One thing that I will prescribe to is just because the last two guys from North Carolina are going to be backups in the NFL doesn't necessarily mean that he is. I know it's not a football factory, but I can't put all the eggs in that basket. No. That's not fair.
But you know what I'm doing though? I am doing what the NFL and GMs do. Okay, why they bash certain guys, and I'm taking their lingo. Running back and linebacker with Penn State back in the day. And it was back then, USC had the lineage for certain quarterbacks in the early with Carson Palmer and everything else. That was the mantra for a lot of these GMs and scouts. Okay, so if we could do it for the positive, why can't we do it for the negative? See, nobody wants to do that because they're not on that narrative anymore, because they're pumping up Drake May, right? But let's take it to the negative. And I agree with that, but if you're going to do it to pump up a guy, all Georgia running backs are great. Okay, well, then you got to do it with the negative, too.
I get it, Joe. It's something that I don't think – I get your point on the one side. Well, Penn State linebackers, Georgia running backs, all that. But, I mean, so now every quarterback that comes out of Wyoming is going to be good because Josh Allen hit? It just doesn't – it's apples to oranges. It's just not the same deal for me.
I understand it's a case-by-case type of situation. I'm all
in agreement
with that.
I agree. You can't.
Okay, so that's the bottom line. Drake May, in his better games, didn't step up. And Drake May fell off a cliff in back-to-back years playing in the gutless ACC, right? The same gutless ACC that all the pundits didn't want to put Florida State in, okay? So you didn't want to put Florida State in to the college football playoff because the conference sucked. Well, then we bashed Drake May. And guess what? LSU players, they translate on the NFL. They step up and produce. Wide receivers, defensive backs, quarterbacks, Joey Silk.
The book says, Joe, that J.J. McCarthy is going to be a Viking. Whether that's by trading up or him falling to them, that is now the heavy favorite for where J.J. McCarthy is going to go, and that is to Minnesota. So we'll see how that all translates, Joe. If they draft J.J. McCarthy, do you still think they should play Darnold right out of the gate? Play Darnold? Let him sit?
If they want to try and win, yeah, I do.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. We're back on the grid right after this.
NC State, the Cinderella story continues.
It creates a double team and then gets an assist. 3 assists already. Everything's going through the big man.
Maybe one of the most dominant runs now with double-digit wins and 2 straight NCAA tournaments we have seen in quite some time in the Big Ten.
Zach Edey does throw elbows. Zach Edey does duck in with his shoulder. Zach Edey does initiate a lot of contact.
Oh, he got it!
Alabama runs a style that can challenge them and upset them.
Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, is it pretty much cut and dry that NC State is the biggest surprise of the weekend? I mean, I don't think anybody's bracket had the Wolfpack going this far.
I think they're going to find a way to keep this one close. And we all know Purdue's tournament history under Matt Painter. They've had a lot of early exits when they've been good teams, and maybe this is the time they'll exercise their demons. It's kind of like when Virginia lost to that 16-seed UMBC.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
So I'm not sure Alabama is the team to knock them off from this second consecutive national championship chase. But what will be the key for the Crimson Tide if they can even cover a number?
That wing ball screen action and how you defend that is going to be a problem because a Donovan Clingan forces you to change so much what you do defensively if he's able to score inside.
Only on SportsGrid.
Talk all you want about how fat he is. No one can guard him. No one can stop him. He's a violent offender. He does whatever he wants in the low block and at the 10. He just does whatever he wants and scores at will, ad nauseum.
They're the Mike Tyson of college basketball. At some point, they're going to throw a haymaker. And when it connects, Ferrall, you're not getting up.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We are back for Ferrall Coast to Coast here on a Wednesday. Carver High and Joe Lisi in for Scotty on SportsGrid and SportsGrid Radio. A couple updates, Joe. Still 2-2. Yankees and Diamondbacks. They're in the bottom of the ninth with 2 out. So we could get ourselves some extras out there in Arizona. The Red Sox are up 1-0 on the A's in the bottom of the ninth. But 2 outs and runners on the corners for Oakland. Can they push across that tying run and keep that game going? The Reds and Phillies, the Phillies just tweeted out, Joe, they're going to start that game at 7:30 East. So that was supposed to be 1. Yesterday they moved it to 4. Now they've been going to sit about 3.5 hours, but it sounds like they're going to get the game in after that. Mariners are down 8-0 in the 7th. Padres up 3-1 on the Cardinals. That's in the 6th. Rangers, Twins, and Angels all won today. You got a bunch of games tonight. We also have tonight, Joe, hockey for us. 5 games on a Wednesday night, including Tampa in Toronto against the Leafs. You have the Rangers and the Devils getting together at the Garden. Edmonton is in Dallas. Really good one between 2 of the best in the West. Seattle's in Los Angeles, and Vancouver is in Arizona. Give me the Stars tonight, Joe, at home against Edmonton.
How about the over in the Devils-Rangers game? Rematch of the playoffs. It's
Sure.
Intrastate rivalry. Let's go. Let's go over the 6.5 tonight.
Okay. We can go over the 6.5. I kind of like the over in the Leaf-Lightning game as well, Joe. So we could throw that on the pile there, too. All right, so you got some baseball tonight, lots of NBA. You got a few hockey games as well. Joe, I'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. East for Carver and Lisi on SportsGrid Radio, where we will not only go through all these live games, but have a more extended discussion about how the Bills are not rebuilding, they're retooling. now that they've traded Stephon Diggs to Houston. Game time decisions is next. Great job by Mafia and the crew. Scotty back tomorrow. Ferrall, coast to coast. Cash some tickets. See you tomorrow on the grid.